Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Switch Statement Podcast. It's a podcast for investigations into miscellaneous tech topics.
This is our 7th episode on Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Hey, Matt. Our clap was particularly synced that time. It was very pleasing.
Oh. How, like the sound when my clap reached you?
There was no delay between our two claps. Usually there's like maybe 10 milliseconds. But for that one, there was like 0 milliseconds delay.
I don't believe that you can detect 10 milliseconds. I think that's shorter than the human perceptual system.
Yeah, typical human, sure.
Typically, yeah. You're an extraordinary. Or do you have you got an over-the-air upgrade?
Exactly. Yeah, I've been in shitified.
But no, you're in the good phase where they're shipping updates to your. Yeah. Do you have a Neuralink?
Oh man, I wish. I'm looking forward to that. There's that one like new kid on the block CEO who talks about how he's not going to have kids until Neuralink perfects its technology, which I find hilarious.
Okay, I mean,
it's like that's a reason to wait to have kids.
And then you're just going to cram that into your child as soon as it's born?
I guess so, which seems
there's an ethical problem there.
Yeah, he's just like tearing the baby out of his wife's hands. Like, we got to get this chip in there. But
yeah, the limiting factor there might be your wife. Like maybe worry about finding a wife who's willing to have children with you, because that might be the defining factor.
Yeah, I feel like you got to let the baby sit around for a bit before you drill a hole in its head.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I think in the Middle Ages, that was just standard operating procedure, literally, I guess. All right. Yeah, so Musk loves Obama.
Indeed, yeah. They seem to have kind of a cool relationship. So the U.S. government has created, they keep referring to it as this cost-plus system where NASA contracts these huge companies like Boeing to make rockets. They're currently working on this rocket called the Constellation, which is kind of supposed to be the state-of-the-art rocket for 2008, but it's not going so well.
Which I never heard of. Like, I didn't even hear about Constellation.
Me neither, which I think we never heard of it because it got canceled.
Never really got anywhere, yeah.
Yeah, it never really got anywhere. But Obama gets advised by one of his peeps to start to leverage the private sector for this sort of thing, which, turned out to be a really good idea, or at least it seems that way in retrospect. So they talk about how Obama needs to get all this stuff up to the International Space Station. They're thinking that they're going to use this Constellation, but it's going very horribly. So instead, they turn to private companies like SpaceX. Mm-hmm. SpaceX needs to build a much larger rocket in order to do this. They currently have the the Falcon 1?
Falcon 1, yeah.
Which has one single engine.
Yeah, one Merlin.
One Merlin. They're going to upgrade to a Falcon 9.
Yeah.
Which has 9 engines. There's a lot in this chapter about the cost savings, just how SpaceX shirks requirements. Well, I shouldn't say shirks requirements. That makes it sound irresponsible. They basically ignore stupid requirements. And they also find parts. They talk about one of the guys, I want to say his name is Buzza. He finds this oxygen tank on the side of the road. And it's like a $5 million oxygen tank. Yeah. And he's like, oh, this one will work. So it's basically, this chapter has a lot of them doing massive cost savings just by, being somewhat intelligent. Yeah,
they're able to buy it off the government for the scrap metal cost of the tank, and it's this very sophisticated. Apparently, I think they're still using it basically.
Yeah, which is awesome. They also discuss how Quaj has kind of overstayed its welcome. I mean, we discussed a little bit some of the issues with Quaj, like the salt air. Also, just it's a logistical nightmare to get shit out into the middle of the Pacific. So they decide to move to the Kennedy Space Center at Cape Canaveral, which is in Florida. This is where all of the famous United States launches of the 60s have happened. Just a huge facility for launching space shuttles. Mm-hmm. And they talk about this section where Obama goes out there. And they actually have this photo op
Such a good photo. That is like that is, I've never seen that photo before, but it's just so good.
Yeah, no, it really does make both Obama and Musk look really good, and it's very like future looking.
What it is, just to describe it. So Falcon 9 standing behind them, and then you see Obama and Musk both in suits, which it's very weird to see Elon Musk in a suit. Like I think this is the only time I've ever seen him wear a suit.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're just like walking and talking, and it's just such a good shot.
Yeah, they just look like movers and shakers. So this photo was very well, for one thing, it was just a very valuable photo op for Elon. It really like increased his prestige and credibility, but it was also very I want to say symbolic. Like it kind of represented this change in US policy from sort of doing this stuff on their own to working with private companies to handle these launches. So we segue immediately into the Falcon 9 liftoff, which, I mean, this is really impressive to me. It's like they had this successful Falcon 1 liftoff, which that alone is impressive. But they upgrade to this Falcon 9, way huger, twice as large, and has 9 engines. So it seems like this would be like a totally different ball game. But they pull it off. Like this thing launches without issue.
There is a detail about that design decision to like use 9 Merlin engines. I think the reality of Elon Musk is probably a lot more nuanced than this book seems to make it out. Like he's just always he just always says my way or the highway. But so in this case, his chief, rocket scientist,
Straubel.
he wanted to Straubel. Elon wanted to make larger engines to make a Falcon 5, but then he was like, why don't we just slap 9 currently designed Merlins in there? And he's like, you know what, that makes sense. And so like if someone says something that it makes sense to him, he's not unwilling to like change his mind. It's not like he's completely stubborn, but it's just that, especially with something like design, it's like, how can you argue someone out of their design opinion,
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is very, that just seemed like such a more reasonable thing to do. Like these engines were tried and true. They literally launched a thing into orbit with these engines. And so I think it makes perfect sense that they just continue to use these engines. But this was the chapter, the Falcon 9 liftoff is where they had an issue with the skirt, which I guess is that part of the sort of thruster that's at the very bottom where the flame comes out of.
Yeah.
And there was a tear in the skirt, which is potentially a huge issue because the flame kind of goes erratically and it's very difficult to predict how your thrust vector. And so Elon is like, let's just trim the skirt, which seems insane. Like I'm sure there's all these massive calculations having to do with like exactly the proportions of the engine. And here's Musk just doing some quick back of the napkin math and being like, let's just trim it off. It'll work.
Using a big pair of shears.
Yeah.
The skirt was trimmed. And the rocket launched on its critical mission the next day as planned. It's wild. And it's funny because it's just like, it's kind of terrifying, frankly. I mean, I guess these are all test flights, but it's just wild to me to like, they're using less caution than like we would use in like software, like launching a new version of software. You know what I mean? You would just be like, all right, we're gonna scrub this, and then, but
this is that private sector advantage.
Yeah, I guess so.
So yeah, we get some successes on the SpaceX end, and we transition to Tesla, which was kind of Elon's life during this period.
Well, very briefly, we do also or Elon marries Tallulah. I don't know. Did you have anything?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. This book is punctuated with Elon's personal life, and it's always like so uninteresting to me. There were a couple things I wrote in my notes, though. There was one point where Tallulah refers to Elon like literally raffling, like rolling on the floor laughing.
Yeah.
During a like kids comedy movie.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it just sounds so incredibly lame.
But it really is like he's like a big kid.
Yeah.
He gets really angry. He laughs really hard. He's sad. He curls him up a little ball. Like, in a way, it's almost like there's a part of him that never fully matured.
Yeah. And
Maybe because they didn't have to. But yeah, sorry, go for it.
No, I think you're right about he didn't have to. Like, I think his immaturity gets rewarded in a lot of scenarios. You know, I think it even comes across to certain people as genius, where it's like, oh, he's shirking all these rules, and it's like, on the one hand, yeah, those rules turned out to not be important, but on the other hand, it's like he's behaving like a petulant child, and so he could have easily been a Stockton Rush type guy who ignored the wrong rule and imploded at the bottom of the ocean. So it's a fine line between these geniuses, I think.
Yeah. Okay, but like you were saying, we move on to trying to productionize the manufacturing of Tesla. You know, how to build the machine that builds the machine.
Yes. And
he decides to build it in the United States. But yeah, go for it.
Yeah, which I think is really cool. He's doing this in the U.S. when other companies, I mean, the trend is moving in the opposite direction. Other companies are moving their manufacturing to China. They had just mentioned, you know, when they were talking about Elon being very integrated in the manufacturing process, they mentioned how Jobs was totally not integrated in the manufacturing process of the iPhone. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Steve Jobs. It's always weird to just say Jobs because it's kind of confusing. But anyway, these first few cars off of this assembly line were total crap.
Yeah.
Elon actually fired, I want to say three of his sort of quality assurance guys. And he brought this Holtzhausen guy in, who's the designer that we just discussed. And they would stay up late almost every night, just wandering throughout this assembly line, trying to figure out where the pain points were and why the design was leading to these pain points, which is an important, you know, this is like a super like vertically integrated way of thinking. Like, they're literally fixing design problems that are causing manufacturing issues, which is, I wonder how common that is. Like, it sounds very, you know, unique.
Yeah. No, sorry. Say that last sentence again. I feel like I missed it.
Yeah, sorry. Just this whole marriage of like, he is literally fixing problems on the assembly line by fixing the designs that's causing those problems, which I want to say, like, that can't be very common.
It seems like a brilliant idea to have one of the head designers be the person actually on the production line, because then you have the feedback loop. Like, it seems like you don't have, that's something you might not have in a normal company, a traditional car company. It's like, all right, you throw it over the wall. I think I know he referred to that somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's just
especially
the antithesis of Tesla. Yeah.
If your assembly line's in China, like, you just can't do this. You know, you can't possibly have this tight of feedback loops. So, and he mentioned how he had engineers sitting right next to the assembly line. So when the sirens would go off, the engineers would like see them and, you know, be involved in fixing them immediately. So all this stuff seems really cool.
But the production issues don't get in the way of some glowing praise. Wins Car of the Year by Motor Trend magazine in 2012.
Yeah. And this is a huge deal. This is an American car company winning this award, which hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah.
So one other thing mentioned in this chapter, the Model S was using 10% of the world's batteries.
That's
so
amazing.
It's crazy. So this is when Elon Musk decides to build this gigafactory, which I imagine a lot of listeners have probably heard of this gigafactory. I feel like Elon's kind of famous for it. But at the time, this was like a completely inane scheme. You know, he was going to build one of the largest factories in the world to produce batteries.
More production, not only the largest factory in the world, but it by itself was going to produce a majority of the world's batteries. Like, more batteries than the rest of all of the battery producers in the world combined.
Yeah. And he gets Panasonic to go in halvesies. Or I guess Panasonic is a 40% partner.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting part where, you know, this guy Tsuga, hopefully I'm not butchering that too badly. He was the president of Panasonic at the time, and he sort of gets charmed by Musk, and he says something along the lines of like, Panasonic is way too conservative. We need to have more of this Musk style thinking, taking big risks, and doing big investments in ourselves.
I wonder how that has turned out. I mean, obviously Panasonic is still around. I know they make cameras, but I hope it worked out well for them. I know it's really hard because like it seems like there could be some like culture shock in terms of like they're putting $2 billion into this and they don't get any say.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it sounds very risky, but in a way, I guess. Maybe it's a testament to Musk for charming Tsuga, but maybe it's also a testament to Tsuga to be able to break out of the conservative culture of his company and take a big swing on this big factory. But maybe we can. I know this is kind of a short episode, but maybe we can call it there and kick off the next one talking about this relationship between Musk and Bezos.
Yeah. Let's call it there. And we will check in next week on Musk and Bezos.
Yeah.
And their forthcoming rivalry.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. All right. Well, I'll see you next time, Matt.
See you next time, John.